We will explore the traditional gender roles and how it does perpetuate toxic stress and trauma, particularly among men who feel pressure to conform with rigid masculine norms. What are some of the key characteristics of the machismo culture, and how do these norms shape men's behavior and attitude towards mental health?
The Soapbox PH.
Part of and this comes back to the over-controlling behavior. One of the things about over-controlling behavior is I should be able to control my environment. Really, the more I am stressed, the more stress responses I'm having, the more likely I am to use very aggressive means. What you're getting is this combination of cortisol and noradrenaline. And just a small increase in noradrenaline, and you're going to be hostile and aggressive. And so what we have is stress put upon men to conform because this is the way you're supposed to be. But that's pretty stressful, and they try to live up to it. But on the other side of it, most of them end up, because they're not really secure, this is what you do because this is what great grandfather did, is not often a good reason to do a thing. Or this is I have 60 first and second cousins, and that's the way they do it, is also not a good reason to do something. But quite often, when people are not regulating, they will bow to social culture. In other words, they substitute roles or ideology for actual thinking and reflection. And so instead of really thinking, is this how I want to show up, which requires them to be regulating and self-reflective, they just do what everybody else around them is doing. And yet, if you accuse them of that, they'll be very upset with you.
I know. I saw this podcast that says that when they teach boys, that boys, when they play with dolls, they learn how to care for another human being, right? But then again, what's happening right now is when boys plays with dolls, they say, no, don't play with that. Instead, play with guns and play with this stuff, right? So I think that's also what's happening, and where it starts, basically, like,
well, and think about it. And rather than trying to go into a lot of the science of this, let me see if I can put it in a metaphor that might be easier. I want you to think of a hunter. A hunter is seeking a prey, whatever that prey is. And the prey doesn't want to be hunted. And what we see is kind of this hunter mentality in machismo cultures, and this need to be seen somehow better than they are, to be seen as being the one in charge, this is really important to them. And so they put stress on themselves, and then they put stress on the people around them. But reality is, because they're filled with this uncertainty, this stress, this, I must appear this way, whether I really feel that way or not, I have to appear that way. That's part of that culture. Then what you end up with is this self-imposed limitation. And one of the results of the self-imposed limitation is I can't allow any kind of vulnerability. If I am vulnerable, I'm not fulfilling this role. Even if I would really like to be vulnerable, being vulnerable is dangerous. I shouldn't do that. Good predators are not vulnerable. Vulnerability is for prey, not for hunters. And so in machismo cultures, we run into a lot of that predator mindset. And in society in large, the predators are valued more than the non-predators. And really to shift this, what we really hope people will do is adopt a fisherman's mindset. The fisherman is patient. The fisherman pays attention to the bait that they use. They tend to fish only where fish are. And they have an ongoing belief system that fish will come and that it's patient. And it draws, it's an attraction. And predators tend to want to chase down and conquer and own. And so the difference is really quite stunning. In machismo cultures, we're rewarding predatory behavior that may have had survival value 10 generations ago. Does it really have survival value today? But in order to have that thought process, people need to be out of stress long enough to learn the skills to regulate themselves, and then they can be self-reflective. But right now, being vulnerable and self-reflective are not culturally enforced. And in fact, if you do that, you might lose your man card. And so, it really does drive that machismo culture.
The Soapbox PH.